Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Acosta. I am a non-religious licensed minister. And for those of you that don't understand what that means, it means that I do not follow the traditions of men. And men, that's why we have so many denominations. But before I get into anything like that, I have a question for you. The question is, what do you desire? What is that desire locked up inside of you? Where is it taking you? And what are you doing with it? We'll be right back. Now, for many of you that just heard me ask that question, if you had a room full of 100 people, let's say a church full of 100 people or 1,000 people, do you know that the majority of people don't give much thought to what they want? They don't give much thought to desire. Why is that? Because they're concerned with needs. They live their life in needs, trying to fulfill, and God fulfills all our needs. But we haven't grasped that. We haven't grasped, and because we haven't grasped that, we live our lives stagnant there. Now, you might not think that that's the case, but our results are always showing us that. You'll know them by their fruit. Well, if I live my life day to day the same way, week to week, month to month, year to year in the same manner, and it's pretty much in the same manner, then I haven't really reached a place. You have to understand why God gives us the desires of our heart. What did he say? He says, suffer the little children not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. Why is he saying that? Well, children right away do not have any mental barriers. This is the difference. They don't have mental barriers. They don't have something getting in the way. They have a desire for something. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? They have, I want to be a cops and robbers. I want to play cowboys and Indians. I want to, all these different things that children want to do. And they don't see barriers. We adults, we see barriers. We see the problems on the way, and we start identifying the problems even before they're there. We look at our bank account, and if our bank account does not coincide with our dream, we can't have it. The biggest problem is when you can't see the desire that God placed in you, because that's what the word means, desire from sire, doesn't coincide with your bank account. Now you lay it down. Oh, that's exactly what happens. That's not what you want to hear, but that's exactly what happens. And many of you would be happy to hear that. Make a light bulb come on. But that is what happens. And God uses those desires, and we're talking about, out there, fleshly world, because that's what a lot of churches do now. They equate desire and lust together. Things that are wrong. God's not going after that. That's not what he's doing. But what's wrong with a new car? Nothing. And don't sound like Judas right now. Well, you could sell the car and give the money to the poor. No. There's a desire for you. The desire is for you, because God knows specifically what will move you from where you're at. Where you are at is a prison of your own thinking. Same thinking equals same result. You'll know them by their fruit. The fruit is the result of what kind of tree that is. It's not just the kindness. You can be broke and kind. You can be a slave and kind. The children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt. But the worst part about the slavery in Egypt wasn't that it's there. It was in their own mind. It's in their own mind. How horrible does it have to be that God has to send 10 plagues so that you can finally want to get moving? And even then, you would rather go back to the slavery and the mental slavery than to walk into the unknown. I cannot remember who said it. There's a quote by somebody. But they said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. Now, God is not going to put a desire in you right away to just go to church and you're going to pray for people. It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like, especially for everybody, it's not going to be like that. What it is it's going to be a place to get you moving, because the place that you're at is so far from him. You might hear from him. You might talk to him. You might read his word. You might spend an hour a day praying. But ultimately, if your results are in the same place, nothing's happened. We live in this physical world. This physical world is the place where the fruit grows. The seed comes in my mind. It nurtures in my heart, and it bears fruit in my physical world. Guard thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Some of us have been planting weeds for a long time. We don't have a room for desires. We're stuck in needs. You can't have needs and wants in the same place unless the want becomes to fulfill the need. And that's not a want or a desire. You have to understand these things. And so the same way in the movie E.T., they led E.T. into the house and into the room with Reese's Pieces. God leads you by desires back to him, by Reese's Pieces all the way back to him. But if you are out of tune and you believe all things are possible for him that believes. I can do all things through Jesus Christ and strength. Peter walked on water. Okay? All things are possible to him that believes. They're going to be possible for you if you don't believe. That's exactly what that says. That's exactly what that is. And even though I can believe it in my head and say I believe it, my heart doesn't. And when my heart doesn't, my results are exactly the same. They're exactly the same. And the fruit isn't on the inside. There's a side effect of when there's fruit coming on the inside. But the fruit is born on the outside. We don't split trees to find out what kind of tree it is to take the fruit out from the side of it. It just blossoms. There's a blossom. And from the blossom comes a fruit. There's so many things that as we grow up from children, you ask those children, what do they want to be? What do they want to be when they grow up? Some want to be firefighters, policemen. They want to be pilots. They want to be an astronaut. They want to do all these different things. Some of the children, you hear their answers. And it's so, my daughter was about 4 years old. And when she said when she grows up, she wants to work at Target in the food section because she liked their popcorn. See, that's a child. That's the mind of a child. But it's okay because they want something. They want something. How many people are restricted so much in your mind? When's the last time you were in touch with a desire? Well, we lose it along the way. Money doesn't grow on trees. We start to take in all this information around us. We start to hear and watch our parents struggle. And then we believe that that's what's going on for us. A woman will not know her father. And she'll see her and her siblings, a child, right? She'll grow up watching her mother struggle with a couple of kids. And she'll be on welfare. And so then she takes in that information. And before you know it, she's an adult. She's not going to live like that. She's not going to do this. But what happens? They end up in the same place because when we find a woman like that, oftentimes we find 3-4 generations that are in the same spot. And we have no idea how that affects somebody. It affects us so deeply. Our culture affects us immensely. We don't think that, but our culture is not spirit. Our culture is our physical being. Culture is just group activity. That's all it is. It's just group activity. Let's minimize it to what it is because it's not spirit. Spirit is, the Lord said, my words, they're spirit and they are life. It's because it's coming from a different area. It's not coming from logic and human way of thinking. It's not. And what I'm telling you right now, it's the same spirit. Because spirit wants to get up. When a child starts to run, they want to run faster. And then they try on different shoes. What's the first thing they do? They start to run to see if they run faster. And sometimes they feel, I run faster in these shoes. They make me faster. We as adults, we kind of laugh it off. But when we were children, we did that. We thought, it did make me run faster. Now we go to school and want to race somebody. Right? Or we put a couple of boxes together and we jump over it and we want to add another box and add another. We can't add another box. We add a book. And we're going to try. Why? Because spirit wants to go beyond. Spirit wants to be free. But we can't if we're in a mental prison. And when you look at the children of Israel, where are they? They're enslaved. But the worst part of it all is that they're in a mental slavery. They're in the mental prison. They can't see. There's the promised land. And I'm taking you to it. Not in the next world, in the next life, but in this life. Not when you die and go to heaven, but in this life. Because the development has to be here. The development happens along the journey. And it is along that journey that you start to lose the trash and the mental prison that you have. It's the only way. And as that starts to fall off, you start to understand. You start to see what is possible. All things are possible to him that believes. And you have to get going. You have to get moving. and the doors will open. They might not all open right away, but you stay there and you keep focused on the result, they will open. They always open. And along the way, your relationship with God gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And you start to rely on him, not your bank account. That's where it's at. The love of money. It is the limited amount of money that leaves somebody stuck in needs. This is what they got. This is what they can do. I'm safe right here. But it's not until you get out of Egypt that you start to see the Red Sea parted. You might see things where you're at right now. God's going to sustain you because you need to get on the journey. You need to hear what I'm saying. And God can throw a desire and put a desire right in you, and you'll cough it right out. What? Well, what do you mean? Well, what did he say? Along came the sower, right? And he threw some seeds, and some fell on the wayside. They even fine ground. Some fell on stony ground. Some fell on thorny ground. Some fell on good ground. They produced 30% and some 60% and some 100%. That's absolutely true. That applies to me and you. You really have to get a hold of that because that desire is there. It is those Reese's Pieces, the AET into the house. And that's how God works. That's the reason why God gives you the desire of your heart. Because along that journey, you grow in who you were created to be, in the image and the likeness of God. It's the unfoldment of who God made you. Christ in you, the hope of glory, coming to the surface. If you believe that you were just made to, God, Christ came down here to just wipe away all the sins and that's it. That's half the job. That's half the job. That would be like Christ dying so that the prodigal son could feel better about how he went out and splurged all his inheritance and then just left him out there, never coming back. And that is what's going on today. Because look at most. You won't see a lot of children of God looking like they came back home, right? You don't see that. That is the fruit. You'll know them by their fruit. They came back home. They don't sound like they came back home. You can see that they came back home. I see the fruit. What did they tell the Samaritan woman? We don't believe because you told us. We believe because we saw for ourselves. You have to understand that desire that God places inside of you, you have to start chewing it. You have to understand that is it possible for? Absolutely. All things are possible for him that believes. Well, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me inside of me, strengthening me to go and do those things. You can diminish if you don't watch what is going on inside of you and you don't analyze your thinking. You don't think. You just react. You will diminish the desire. You say, I don't need that. All I need is this. I don't need that. Well, that's just material. Yeah. Look at the material you got right now. Don't look like you know God, right? Don't look like you're a child of the King. Don't look like you're related to royalty in any way. Doesn't look like it. It has nothing to do. How can the Spirit of God dwell like that in limitation? No. My mind, me, I'm the one driving this car. I'm in limitation. God's always in abundance. I mean, everything here on this planet is for us. God made it for us. Doesn't mean that someone gets it and doesn't turn it into something wrong. But it's for us. And when we understand that, we'll understand our relationship with God. It is the reverse Hansel and Gretel, each of those leading us back to him. Each desire brings me into a new place, climbing the mountain, climbing the mountain, climbing the mountain. And it is the unfoldment of who we are along every step. But we have to take the steps. You don't have to be where you're at. You don't have to feel stuck. You don't have to feel like you have to just deal with problems and disease. And the thing about it too is a lot of times we don't understand the desire is for you. It's not for your husband and your wife. It's for you, because each one of us has a different desire. God knows what's going to move me and knows what's going to move you. And it's not going to be always the same thing. The thing that might move me might be stressful to you. If we look back in the 1950s and we see the most successful people in the world, they were men. The top 50 people in the world were men. What did there's something they all had in common. It's funny to say. 48 of those men had wives that were, I know you can do it. You got this. You can do this. And they started adding, oh, you could do it like this, or you can, and they started adding to it. They started adding. They started giving them confidence, pushing them, helping them. There was 2 men that didn't have a wife like that. They were completely opposite. Oh yeah, you failed last time. Remember you tried to do this? Well, why do you need that for? Well, we need to do this. Why we're going to go help them? Why don't you go help this person and that person? You have your uncle or your aunt you could be helping instead of them out there. You don't even know them. They have all these blocks, all these barriers because it was the barriers in their mind. God's not going to give them that desire because they have barriers in their mind. He's going to give it to the one that's going to chew it and try to do something with it. And out of those 2 men, they found that it was the other woman, not their wives, the other woman. They had another woman that was like, I know you can do it. Let me, do you need me to do something for you? Let's get, you can get that going. I know you can. It's not as tough as you think. You can do it. And they pushed them along. If you were like Moses. Now, Moses is big in the Bible. Moses is big. Right? I mean, he had the first 5 books he wrote. Moses, it says that the Lord met him by the end to slay him. It's in Exodus. I cannot remember. The Lord met him by the end to slay him. Why? Moses received a desire from God. And the desire was to go out there and release his people. Moses had the desire, which is why he slayed those 2 Egyptian guard soldiers when they were beating on his people. There was already a fire inside of Moses. Moses just didn't see it yet. There's a fire inside of you. You just haven't encountered it yet. And all the mental barriers will keep you from it. Moses, when God appeared to him in the burning bush and he said, hey, you're going to go over there, you're going to tell the Pharaoh, release my people, and put his hand in there and came out with in his coat and came out with leprosy. Moses was flabbergasted by all these things, but he got a hold of the idea. Even though he got a hold of the idea, at one point, the Lord meets him by the end to slay him. What's going on? The wife goes and gets the second boy, and she circumcises and throws the foreskin at Moses' feet. And she says, you're a bloody husband to me because of this. Because of this, you're a bloody husband. Moses had fallen sick, and he was dying, technically. He's there dying. And she knows what's up. She takes the second son, not the first son. The first son's already circumcised. The wife must have had a big problem with it, because when it was the second one's turn, she argued to the point that Moses let go of what he knew already should happen. The ordinances that he had. Now, if you can't hold on to the ordinance that you have because of your discussion with your wife and she doesn't feel a certain way about it, or she feels a certain way about it, you're not going to go after a desire. Period. You're not going to go after a desire. There has to be harmony in the relationship. There's harmony. That's what love is. Love is harmony on 3 levels. Mind, body, and spirit. There's harmony. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Harmony. And a lot of us, sometimes we select partners that are not conducive to the journey that we're going on. And if you are in the beginning of your life and you select a partner that's not going to be conducive to that journey, it's going to be very hard for you to succeed and follow that desire. It's over. It's like, can you imagine how the garden would have been? But then they ate from the fruit. Of course, that's the way it was supposed to be, because the Lord was the lamb sacrificed at the foundation of the earth. But we get a general idea that it's not guaranteed. We have to put the effort in. We have to be willing to take the journey. When we get to the place, we're going to have to take a leap. Like Peter, we're going to have to step out onto the boat. Step out from the boat onto the water. And if you don't have the guts to do it, then you don't deserve to win. You don't. It's simple. Every person's desire is different. Every person receives a different desire from God. And it's not going to be going right into the church and being a pastor. I want to get something to give to people. I want to help people. That's always been my desire, to help people, to help them be better than they've been. But I have to be able to do it, me too, because I have to give you a truth. I need something inside of me. Sometimes people want to go and be in the church because they want to be able to talk. They like the status of being the pastor. They like the status of being a minister. They like talking and being heard. I only want to talk if I have something to give you. I want to help you if I can help you. We have to come to that place. We have to come into that place of relationship. A lot of people, you see people, some people are ready to go. They're ready to go to heaven. I'm ready to go. I'm not ready to go. When you understand this, you're not ready to go. Yeah, I'm ready to go when God calls me. But until then, I got stuff to do. I got more to grow. Until I come to the status of the measure of the fullness of Christ. Until I come to that place. I'm not ready. Until Christ in me, the hope of glory, comes up to the surface. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go to the grave with the music still in me. Now you might be, but I'm not. And I am going to keep on going. Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Until the good is better, until the better is best. Hold that in your mind. Think about that. Don't look at struggles and barriers. Look at what God has for you. Look what's going on inside of you. What's in there? Now, I have these books here. Let the Answer Sink In. Believer's Guide to Christ in You Manifested. These are on Amazon. The links will be in the description below. And just like that book says, let the answer sink in. The answers have to sink in until they become our normal reply. And it's not about just quoting scriptures. It's about understanding. Study to show thyself a workman approved. Study leads to understanding. And when you take an understanding, when you see the things in life, you'll see them differently. It's not about just, I think that scripture applies there and just applying it. And then all along, I just look around and I'm still in the same place. It's applied as I'm going forward in my journey. And I have to have something over there that I want that is driving me to get there. Something has to drive me to get there. And God knows exactly what it is. So what is your desire? Don't let today's ministry steal that from you. It's not a lust. We seek to fulfill all pure desires. God gives us, there's so much good. There's so much good in the world. God made this world to be good. Sure, there's wrong and there's evil and there's all these things. Yes, don't focus on that. Whatever you focus on, you're going to get more of that. Anyways, God bless. Thank you. We're at over 1,800 subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share, like, and follow. Comment below if you want to. All right, talk to you later.